In 1999, Callum Henderson was invited to visit Rwanda by Louis Muvunyi, a recently graduated student of the training centre, a cross-denominational training centre in Cumbernauld. At that point, Rwanda was in a state of trauma, stunned and broken by the shocking scale and brutality of the 100 Days of Madness in the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. The economy and infrastructure were shattered, families were devastated, and led by broken and wounded people, often as young as 8. During this visit, Callum met incredible people who would become friends and partners of Comfort International over the following years. Leaders like Paul Dehigwa of the Living Church, John Kagwandi and Ben Kayumba of Solace Ministries.
I think I might be perhaps the first person who met in Rwanda when he came for a visit, when I had been told by a friend of mine to meet him. And he said to me, "This is a man of God you have to see." So it was just a blessing for me. And I will never forget the first encounter as we shared about the vision of Solace Ministries. I saw in him a man moved by the Holy Spirit, a real man of God who loves people and was willing to help, to support.
God was touching hearts with his compassion for the broken people. Comfort Rwanda, the precursor to Comfort International, and emerging out of the vision of Isaiah 40 verse 1, "Comfort, comfort my people, says your God," was birthed in the tear-stained weeks that followed Callum's initial visit to Rwanda.
After Callum had traveled and seen the bloodshed, the dead bodies, and the poor people, and some widows, the outcome of the genocide happened in Rwanda, then Callum, his heart was very much focused to serve with us.
The need of genocide survivors in those early years was immense. Thousands were in desperate need of comfort, of hope. The funds that had been sent for seeds, food and crops were blessed, and in the year 2000 rains had come. The support of Comfort helped Solace Ministries consolidate their work in gathering survivors to work together, pray together and cry together. John Kagwandi of Solace Ministries described it as a catalyst to an active reconciliation in a broken society as ours. The partnership with Solace Ministries in those early years saw crucial spiritual, physical and emotional support offered to hundreds of children through camps, and widows who had lost husbands, homes and land, who were offered practical support.
I remember once that he came even with his team, and then they went to Bugesera. They spent nights in the home of the widows. That was a sign of giving compassion, giving love, giving dignity to the widows who were deeply traumatized and need again to see love.
During this period, John Kagwandi broached the idea of writing a book on the survivors' journeys of recovery. This would end up being a project 5 years in the making and lead to the publication of Beauty from Ashes. In May 2002, Callum cycled 340 kilometres across Rwanda to raise over £4,000 for survivors, primarily for a project distributing cattle. This helped develop longer-term means of sustaining genocide survivors, as they had milk to drink and manure to grow their crops. This time also saw children being helped back to school after a 5-year genocide-related absence. During the early years of Comfort International, there were some challenging times. 2003 was a very difficult year when we came close to needing to shut down. Where a door had been shut, though, God opened new doors, and support for Comfort began to increase. We continued to support Solace Ministries, and we're also supporting pastors' training through the Living Church. Through Solace Ministries, we met children like Constance, who had become the guardian of 7 children at the age of 11. Inspired by her grace and courage, we were able to buy a new home for the family. Homes for homeless survivors would become an increasingly important activity as the full extent of the destruction of homes became clear.
I do remember how he encouraged us with the message, "Don't lose your call." And he emphasized by saying that survivors need compassion, survivors need salvation. Survivors need redemption. I will never forget that message.
2004 and then 2005 were exciting years for Comfort International. Our support quadrupled, allowing us to support survivors through a recurrence of the 1999 to 2000 food shortages. We were also able to fund new initiatives, such as Widows Sewing Projects, a survivors demonstration farm at Kabuga, bicycles for pastors and goats for survivors. 2005 also saw the beginning of our long-standing support of the Survivors Craft Group and the beginning of our sponsorship projects. Supporting educational opportunities for vulnerable children and youth and supporting survivors' families, especially child-headed households, continued through our partnership with Solace Ministries.
Comfort International is celebrating 25 years of ministry in some of the poorest countries in Africa. Thank you for joining us on this journey.